Before we dive in, if you enjoy calm breakdowns that cut through rumors, hype, and front office noise to explain what's actually happening around the Lakers, make sure you're part of the channel, because these conversations always get more interesting as the trade deadline gets closer. Now, the NBA trade market is finally starting to move, and as always, the Lakers are right in the middle of the noise. Over the past week alone, multiple reports have surfaced linking them to several names, and while not all of them are exciting, a few of them are definitely worth taking seriously. The most obvious rumor is the Jonathan Kuminga connection. Yes, the Lakers reportedly have interest, but there's been no confirmation of an actual offer. And more importantly, this isn't the move that should get fans fired up. Kuminga is intriguing, but he doesn't solve the Lakers' biggest problems, and that matters. The more interesting report comes from Kevin O'Connor, who suggested that Herb Jones' camp may be quietly signaling interest in a trade. That alone would be massive, but what really raised eyebrows is Jones' recent availability. He has played just one game in the last 2 weeks, coincidentally against the Lakers, where he logged heavy minutes and looked completely fine. Since then, he hasn't seen the floor. Was that a coincidence, or was it a subtle showcase? No one can say for sure, but it's the kind of detail teams around the league notice. At the same time, another report adds fuel to the fire. Chicago Bulls reporter Joe Cowley noted that the Bulls front office has become far more realistic in trade talks, dating back to last season's deadline. That's important because Chicago has exactly what the Lakers are looking for. Young, switchable 3-and-D players, many of them under 30, some under 25. Even more important, the Bulls are sellers, not buyers, and they're in the Eastern Conference, which always makes negotiations easier. Put all of this together, and the picture becomes clearer. The trade market isn't frozen anymore, it's opening up. The Lakers are exploring options, teams are listening, and pressure is quietly building. The question isn't whether rumors exist, it's whether the Lakers can finally turn the right one into a real move. And that's where this story really begins. Even Kevin O'Connor seems to be subtly pointing in this direction, and while nothing is confirmed, the signals are hard to ignore. Herb Jones' camp appears to be quietly nudging toward a trade, and the timeline only adds to the intrigue. Despite being listed with an ankle injury, Jones has essentially been sidelined for nearly a month. The one exception, a high-minute appearance against the Lakers, where he looked completely healthy and fully engaged. Since then, nothing. Was it just coincidence? Or was it a calculated moment to remind certain teams what he brings to the table? No one can say for sure, but from a Lakers perspective, this is about as encouraging as trade market news gets. If there's one name that consistently checks every box for what the Lakers need, it's Herb Jones. Elite defensive versatility, high motor, and the ability to guard the best player on the floor without needing the ball offensively. That's why this report deserves attention. Not because a deal is guaranteed, but because it signals that real, difference-making defenders may actually be available. That naturally leads into the second major report, this one involving the Chicago Bulls. Joe Cowley has indicated that Chicago's front office has become far more transparent and realistic in trade negotiations, going back to last season's deadline. That matters, because the Bulls are not buyers, they're sellers. And more importantly, they're sellers in the Eastern Conference, which historically makes them more willing to work with a team like the Lakers. The Bulls might not have the flashiest star available, but when you actually look at their roster, they offer something more valuable: options. Not one player, not two, but several potential trade targets that fit the Lakers' needs. Coby White, while talented, doesn't feel like the priority for this roster. Nikola Vucevic and Zach Collins are more buyout market conversations than trade targets. But once you move past those names, the discussion gets interesting. Patrick Williams stands out, and not because he's perfect. On the court, he fits the profile the Lakers desperately need. A big, physical 3-and-D wing who can defend multiple positions and space the floor. This season, he's shooting nearly 40% from 3 and brings solid perimeter defense at 6'7" and 235 pounds. He's not a lockdown stopper, but he's reliable, versatile, and scalable next to stars. The problem is the contract. 4 years and over $70 million remaining is not team-friendly under the new CBA. and Williams is not playing at a level that justifies that deal on its own. But that's exactly where the opportunity lies. If the Lakers are willing to absorb the contract using expiring deals like Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber, that money could come with incentives, draft compensation, possibly a protected first, or even another rotation-level defender packaged alongside him, such as Dosunmu, Jalen Smith, or Isaac Okoro. In that scenario, the conversation changes completely. It's no longer about overpaying for Patrick Williams. It's about buying assets. And if the Lakers are serious about balancing defense, flexibility, and long-term value, this may be one of the few realistic paths available. Now, if the Lakers decide that taking on a risky long-term contract like Patrick Williams isn't the direction they want to go, then the conversation naturally shifts to cleaner, more flexible options. And that's where things start to get really interesting. Because once you look further down the list, there are players who fit the Lakers' needs just as well, if not better, without tying up their future. One name that deserves far more attention is Isaac Okoro. He's a classic 3-and-D archetype, even if the 3 isn't elite yet. At 24 years old, soon to be 25, Okoro fits perfectly into the Lakers' timeline around Luka Doncic. He's an athletic, defense-first wing who can take on tough matchups every single night. While he's not as physically imposing as Patrick Williams, he's a more consistent and committed defender. His matchup difficulty this season ranks in the 99th percentile, paired with an A+ grade in perimeter defense. That's not hype, that's real impact. Offensively, Okoro isn't flashy, but he's reliable enough to stay on the floor. He's a career 35% three-point shooter and has only dipped below that mark once, during his rookie season. That matters because it means defenses can't completely ignore him. If the Lakers were able to acquire him by simply matching salary and adding a second-round pick or a future pick swap, he could immediately slide into the starting lineup. In that role, he'd offer more defensive stability and consistency than what the Lakers are currently getting, while still fitting seamlessly alongside their stars. Then there's Jalen Smith, another quietly intriguing option. If the Lakers truly don't see DeAndre Ayton as their long-term answer, something that has been hinted at in multiple reports, then Smith becomes a fascinating alternative. At 25 years old, he's a hybrid big who can play both the 4 and the 5 depending on the matchup. What makes him especially valuable is his versatility. He can protect the rim, rebound at a high level, and stretch the floor offensively. This season, Smith is shooting in the mid-30s from 3, with multiple previous seasons above 35%. He's blocking over 1 shot per game and nearly 2 per 36 minutes, while also pulling down over 12 rebounds per 36. While he may be slightly undersized, that actually works in his favor defensively. He's more mobile, more switchable, and better equipped to survive on the perimeter, while still holding his own in the paint. From a trade perspective, he likely wouldn't cost much, salary matching, and either a future pick swap or a lightly protected first, especially if combined with another player. But the most complete and arguably best fit target on the Bulls roster for the Lakers might be Dosunmu. If the Lakers are looking to add real offensive punch without sacrificing defense, Dosunmu checks nearly every box. This season, he's averaging over 14 points per game in just 26 minutes, which jumps to roughly 20 points per 36. He's also contributing as a playmaker, with over 3 assists per game, while posting elite efficiency splits, over 50% from the field, over 44% from 3, and strong numbers from the free throw line. Dosunmu is the kind of player who fits anywhere. He can run the offense, score off the ball, attack closeouts, and knock down catch-and-shoot threes. Defensively, while he's not a lockdown stopper, he's far from a liability. He's big enough to guard shooting guards and some wings, quick enough to stay in front of point guards, and smart enough to hold his own in team schemes. That makes him a perfect bench weapon who can also close games depending on matchups. At 26 years old, Dosunmu aligns with both the present and future of the Lakers. Yes, he would need to be re-signed this summer, but with LeBron's contract eventually coming off the books, financial flexibility won't be the issue it once was. From a trade standpoint, he could be acquired on his own for matching salary and a protected first. Or, if paired with a contract like Patrick Williams, the Lakers could potentially offset the cost and avoid giving up premium draft capital altogether. That's what makes the Bulls such an appealing trade partner. They don't just offer one path, they offer multiple. Whether the Lakers want defense, shooting, flexibility, or a mix of everything, Chicago presents options that actually make basketball sense. So the real question now isn't whether the Lakers are being linked to names. They always are. The question is whether the front office is finally ready to turn flexibility into action. The market is moving, teams are listening, and for the first time in a while, the Lakers don't just have rumors, they have leverage. And that's where things get interesting.